Today, Bitcoin rises above $90,000 as Trump officials suggest more exemptions for recent tariffs. Solana's co-founder pushes back on the idea of a crypto reserve held by the US government. And James Lavish of the Bitcoin Opportunity Fund weighs in on the Trump administration's push to create a strategic crypto reserve. Welcome to CNBC's Crypto World. I'm Mackenzie Sigalos. Crypto markets are in the green this morning. As of noon Eastern, Bitcoin inched higher by 0.4% to $89,000. Ether rose nearly 1.5% to $22.21, and Solana climbed 2% to $145. Now, that said, prices are changing quickly this afternoon, so head over to CNBC.com for the latest. Okay, let's talk about the top stories. First, sticking with Solana. Solana Labs co-founder Anatoly Yakovenko weighed in on a U.S. strategic crypto reserve. President Trump thinks that Solana, along with other altcoins, should be included. But Yakovenko shared his thoughts in a post on X. Instead, he argued for no reserve at all, citing government control as a risk to decentralization. He suggested that if a reserve were to happen, it should either be run at a state level as a macroeconomic hedge, or if it's based on objectively measurable requirements. Now, other cryptocurrencies mentioned by President Trump include Cardano, XRP, which is tied to Ripple, and of course, Bitcoin and Ether. Next, Russian crypto exchange Garantex says Tether blocked wallets holding around $28 million. A translation of the exchange's Telegram announcement says Tether has entered the war against the Russian crypto market and told customers that it's temporarily suspending all services, including withdrawals. The U.S. Treasury sanctioned Garantex back in April 2022, citing it as an enabler for ransomware. We reached out to Tether for comment, but didn't hear back right away. Last, New York lawmakers just moved to protect investors from crypto fraud and rug pulls. The proposal would penalize companies and individuals from a fine, prison time, or both. Now, this comes around hype in meme tokens, which often heavily favor issuers who can control a vast majority of token circulation. Last week, the SEC issued guidance that most meme coins do not fall under its regulation, but may be pursued by other federal or state agencies. All right, for our main story, let's talk about the Trump administration's plan for a strategic crypto reserve. Crypto World's Tanea McKeel spoke with James Lavish, co-managing partner at the Bitcoin Opportunity Fund, about the president's suggestion that a reserve could hold many different cryptocurrencies. She also asked him about initiatives in states around the country to create their own Bitcoin reserves.
Let's start with your reaction to Trump's statement over the weekend calling for a crypto reserve that houses a number of altcoins rather than just Bitcoin, like he had previously suggested. There's been a lot of debate around whether the U.S. should even have a reserve and if it should include things like ETH, Cardano, Solana. What do you make of the argument in crypto right now?
Yeah, so thank you for having me here, Tanea. So it's great to be back. Look, as a Bitcoin enthusiast, as a Bitcoin investor, specifically, I mean, you know that my hedge fund is a Bitcoin Opportunity Fund. I'm focused on Bitcoin. That is literally what my focus is. We've been waiting and talking to different officials. You know, we've talked to Senator Lummis, and we've talked to some of the people on the Hill about Bitcoin being so important to include on the country's, the government's balance sheet. And so for us, we're very focused on the Bitcoin aspect of things. Is it disappointing that that this administration, who has been great for the crypto and Bitcoin universe, is it disappointing that they're talking about including other things? I mean, that's kind of above my pay grade, right? So I can't say that they're doing something wrong. What I can say is that our opinion is that Bitcoin is the only commodity. We're looking for a long-term, disciplined, deliberate plan on adding this asset, this commodity, to the balance sheet of the United States in order to help shore up and just give strength to the overall balance sheet in the long-term future.
So much, of course, that we don't know. We simply got a post on Truth Social over the weekend. I think a lot of investors are really excited to see what comes out of the White House Crypto Summit at the end of this week. Is there something in particular you are hoping to hear from that conference?
Well, I mean, look, there are a lot of people involved in it, and there are some there are important voices in there that we feel are important for, especially for Bitcoin. And David Sachs is the crypto czar. We know he understands Bitcoin, and he's a proponent. You've got Michael Saylor is going to be there. You've got Kathy Wood's going to be there. Mark Andreessen's going to be there. Those are important voices. The question that we would just like more clarity around which avenue, or if they're going to do kind of concurrent avenues on this. You could have an executive order and have a stockpile, or you could go down the legislative route and have the strategic reserve. And so I think the market is looking for a little bit more clarity around which avenue they're going to go down. We know that the legislative avenue is going to take a long time. It's a bit of a gauntlet going through Congress and getting having to have committees and comments, and then there will be probably concessions and changes to the original bill that Senator Lummis from Wyoming had drafted. And so we're waiting to see just kind of which route they go, and that clarity is important for it.
The Bitcoin Opportunity Fund has been helping states considering Bitcoin reserves of their own. The founder of Solana mentioned in a tweet recently that he would rather see states create their own reserves rather than have one at the federal level. What do you make of that argument? And is that the approach you're taking at the Bitcoin Opportunity Fund?
Well, I don't think it's in either or. I think that the states, if they want to use Bitcoin to add to their own balance sheets and strengthen their balance sheets for the long-term future, there's nothing wrong with that in my mind. But as far as you have heard me talk about the national debt problem, the problem that we have with this just this ongoing borrowing that we don't have a balanced budget as much as Doge is doing, and I want to see them continue to cut costs that are senseless. But we run a deficit that's over $2 trillion. It's going to be very difficult to balance, I believe, in the short term. So, um, if you look at our debt, this is important for the United States to have an asset that is appreciating long term. To have on the balance sheet, and that's really in our mind, that's the most important part about this. Whether or not the states do it themselves, that could be a positive for the state. It really depends on their approach to it.
All right, James, what do you make of the market action and the action we've seen in crypto prices recently? And why are we seeing this divergence between Bitcoin's rally and the NASDAQ?
Well, I mean, there was a huge run up in Bitcoin and enthusiasm around this new administration. The last administration was not very good for cryptocurrencies and Bitcoin in particular. With the different approach to the industry, and so that enthusiasm just it pushed Bitcoin over the $100,000 mark. It's a massive mental level, and so once we started getting some economic indicators that the inflation was it was still sticky, that the economy is kind of getting a little bit stagnant. People are worried about stagflation. People are worried about the tariffs and the impact of the tariffs on the economy, and so that has been kind of weighing on the markets as a whole. And what we've seen is over the last number of years is that Bitcoin has acted as the tip of the risk spear. We believe at the Bitcoin Opportunity Fund, we have a very long-term view on this asset and the companies that are operating in this space. So we don't worry about the short-term moves and the volatility. It's actually positive for investors if they have a long-term view. They can take advantage of these sharp drawdowns in periods of uncertainty. But that's really what is happening here. Bitcoin is almost always the first one to react to news that people are concerned about or uncertainty in the markets.
Uh, Final thing for me, do you see another one of those sharp drawdowns in the near term? We're hovering at the $90,000 level today. I know that technically that is key support, and a lot of analysts and investors have warned in my conversations that if it can't hold 90K, we could see it go down to 70K, which could be a good buying opportunity, of course, but just a lot of uncertainty near term and through March. What are you seeing?
Yeah, I mean, I believe that there still will be volatility, and if it does draw down to that $68 to $72,000 level, I think it would be a gift to investors to be able to accumulate a bunch of Bitcoin through that volatility. Is it? Do I expect that? No, I don't expect it, but it would not surprise me one bit. It also would not surprise me for us to get some certain clarity and for Bitcoin to run and jump back over 100,000 and hold that level. So for this, you've been watching this asset for a while. This is not something you can make predictions and price of. And so I hate making predictions, but I do love taking advantage of the volatility.
Okay, that's all for Crypto World today, but we'll be back again tomorrow, and we'll see you then.